Good morning, it's Catherine here in the Sugar Freedom Kitchen. I do these live rehearsals to get ready to do my videos. I have an acting background on the stage in the theater, and we have a saying, no rehearsal, no show, and it really helps me to put my videos together when I do a rehearsal first. The subject today is sugar and aging. I'm very flattered that a couple of people have mentioned on my channel that I look young for my age. I'm 55, and one of the reasons I want to do this video is that the reason I finally gave up sugar, it really wasn't what finally got me to give up sugar for good. Actually wasn't my weight. Even though I had been obese and I was trying to recover from overweight and obesity, what finally got me to give the sugar up was aging. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a 43-year-old woman with a 6-year-old son, and the woman was me. And in 2008, over the course of about 2 weeks, on 3 different occasions, I was offered the senior discount, once at a theater, twice at 2 different grocery stores. Of course, I guess I was there on a Tuesday, and that is when they do the senior discounts, but I'm sorry, I was 43. I mean, there should have been like no question that I get the senior discount, because at both of those grocery stores, the discount didn't start until 55. And I used to look young for my age. So at any rate, so number one, 3 different times I'm offered the senior discount. But that wasn't the worst part. During that 2-week period, on 2 different occasions, I was asked if I was my son's grandmother. And I realized enough is enough, and I can't take this anymore. And I tried to figure out what I was doing that was making me look older. And there were a number of things that I was doing. Number one, I was eating a diet that was high in carbohydrates but low in fat and calories, kind of a starvation diet. So I was going hungry and then overeating. Then the other thing I was doing was absolute tons of cardio. I was literally doing like 11 hours of cardio a week. And how do I know that? Well, one of the reasons I was doing so much cardio is that when my son was pretty young, although at 6 he was starting, he was in school, but I had started doing so much cardio because before he went back to school, there was a really good childcare program at my gym. And so I would drop my son off. I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can see what everybody's saying. Ah, great, so you've been asked the same thing. All right, so this is what was happening. Okay, so I became obese during my pregnancy when I was 36. And then after my son was born, it didn't come off. There were a number of things that had been going on. I had pregnancy-induced hypertension. I had quit smoking in order to get ready to get pregnant. And so that was, I think, maybe part of like getting off of the nicotine. And then I felt like because I wasn't smoking and because I was drinking, I was being so good that I kind of like could eat whatever I wanted, which was a disaster. So I ended up definitely way north of 200 pounds. And then after I had my son, I was still in the obese range, and it never came off. But it gets even worse. In order to try to lose the weight, I started doing absolute tons of cardio. In other words, so my son is in childcare, they could be there for 2 hours. So I would do an hour and a half of cardio every day that the facility was open. And so I would take a class, and then I would do more cardio. Either I would get on a treadmill or an elliptical, love those ellipticals, or I would swim, and it was just cardio, cardio, cardio. So what happened is that even though I lost some weight, I believe that all of the weight that I lost was pretty much coming from lean tissue, because I was starving and doing bunches of cardio. And I believe that what my body said was, forget it, Catherine, we are saving our fat because you are clearly under some kind of horrible trauma. Are you at war or something that you're doing all this cardio and you're not eating any food? So what happened is that my skin got loose, the skin on my arms got loose, the skin on my legs, my neck, the folds between like my nose and my mouth, marionette lines. It was really, well, it was kind of a mess. So during this 2-week period, I'm 43 years old, senior discount, are you his grandmother? I was like, no, I've had enough. And then what happened at that point, so this was 2008, and we were starting to get faster internet, and I was starting to search on the internet for something to help me. And what I found was a transformation contest. And this was back turbulence training with Craig Ballantyne, incredible, changed my life. But what it changed is it eliminated all of the traditional cardio. No more jogging, no more aerobics classes, no more elliptical, no more treadmill. And it was replaced with sensible weightlifting and short periods of interval training. And then also, I was only training 3 times a week because it was like, hey, you got to recover, correct? And so on the 2 days that I wasn't training, I'd do yoga instead. Everything changed. And I think there was a major change in my appetite because of the reasons and the way that I changed my exercise. But now, let's really get on the aging part of this. And what I want to talk about is some of the science, and I want to talk about glycation, AGEs, advanced glycation, and product. If I may, let me describe how I got the weight off and how I continue to keep it off. I did a process of stepping down. The first thing I cut was sugar and flour. And then I cut all of the grains, and I had replaced the sugar and the flour with some more protein, usually in the form of meat, and vegetables that grow above the ground, and low sugar fruits. And then as I got leaner and leaner, as the weight came off, I started to make some more adjustments. I started to use Brad Pilon's Eat, Stop, Eat method, which is where 1 day a week you would do a fast, and I would do like a 20-hour fast. I did that for a while, a little bit hard. Sometimes I would come back and I would overeat after the fast. And what I found that worked better was more of an eating window. So my eating window eventually became 8 hours on and 16 hours off, which allowed me to get in, 3 meals a day and an early dinner. And then eventually I went keto. And once I went keto, I just simply naturally only wanted 2 meals a day, which worked beautifully because if I wanted to eat dinner with my family, I didn't really need to eat breakfast. But if I had something going on in the evening, very often I would just eat breakfast and lunch. And then finally, recently, which is where many of you viewers may have become aware of this channel, and put my glasses back on. Fasting stresses me out unless I just do it naturally. Yes, exactly. And this is actually what I discovered doing Eat, Stop, Eat. Hat off to Brad Pilon for all of the research he did on why fasting can help. But the problem is that when I was deliberately fasting because I was trying to, look, I'll be honest, I was in the transformation contest and I wanted to win, and I ended up winning, which was really cool. But I was putting the fasting on myself in order to, look better in that swimsuit picture at the end. Now it comes naturally, and I absolutely find that that's true, is that when it's simply automatic in that, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat a meal. I am not hungry, I'm not going to eat a meal, I'm going to do something else. That when it comes naturally, it is the best thing in the world. So those are the steps. First, I got rid of sugar and flour. Then I got rid of the grains, and I also got rid of, I better just leave my glasses on so I can see what people are saying. High cortisol. Yes, and Kelly does have great information. Mwah! To Kelly and to Dr. Sean Baker and to Amber O'Hearn and so much love to everyone who has had the courage to say, hey, I eat in a completely different way, and this is what works for me. Oh my goodness, cortisol. I also think that all of the cardio and the excess exercise that I was doing, I believe that those were raising my cortisol level. And excess cortisol, guess what it does? It, burns lean tissue and makes you store fat. Yeah. Then, to get to the final step, because really, since I did this, I haven't made pretty much any other changes in my eating strategy. After 55, so I'm just going to tell people. So I went through the change officially when I was 53. And then in between, I'm 55 now, I'll be 56 in the end of April. That was when I could tell that I was entering a new era in terms of what I had to eat and how I had to move in order to maintain a healthy body. And that was the point at which I went ahead and did meat-based and went carnivore. Honesty, disclosure. I have only gone really, truly carnivore meat and water, no cream, no cheese, nothing else, for periods of 3 days at a time. I have gone meat-based though, eating pretty much meat, eggs, and a little cream in my coffee. I've done that for months at a time and have been feeling fantastic, which is a good time for me to mention I'm not any kind of medical professional. I'm just a woman who wanted to overcome obesity and feel better. And so I'm just sharing my experience. Of course, if you've never done this before, you might want to talk to a medical professional first. Once again, thank you to the doctors like Dr. Sean Baker, who are like, hey, I am in this medical profession and I'm going to tell it like it is, which is, I also want to bring up this amazing PDF, Strong Medicine by Dr. Blake Donaldson. I believe he has passed. I know he's passed. He served in World War I, so I think he's not with us anymore. But he had a meat and water diet that he was doing in 1961. His book was published in 1961, and he was using it for all of these different maladies. And I just got to say, hats off to the medical professionals who have the courage to go against the grain and tell it like it is. And in many ways, Dr. Atkins was like that as well. I did do the Atkins diet, and one of the things that I noticed was when I did Atkins induction, 20 grams of carbohydrate or less per day with whole foods, nothing out of a bag or a box, everything was wonderful. And the reason why is that my appetite was well managed. I can't fight my appetite. I just don't have what it takes to do that. When I was in my 20s, I did a diet called Diet Center that was really big in the 80s and into the early 90s, where you would go in every day and get weighed. And they did this very low sugar but also very low fat diet that probably was only coming in at around 900 calories a day. And it worked, but it only worked because I knew I was going to have to go in and weigh every other day. I was hungry the whole time. And what I found is that, certainly after I had my son, I simply did not have what it took to starve myself anymore. I just simply couldn't do it. So I had to find a way to simply eat less because I wanted to eat less. And this is what ketogenic, whole food keto, and then also going carnivore when I need to, that's what it does for me. So how am I managing my eating today? The basis of my kind of lifetime eating strategy is still sugar freedom, which is no sugar, no grains, and no processed vegetable oils. However, if I find my appetite or my weight starting to creep in or creep up, I go straight to a meat-based strategy, which for me is meat, eggs, and just a little bit of cream in my coffee in the morning. Now, if I was in a transformation contest or I was, doing something where I really needed to lean out, yeah, I would probably do what I call clean carnivore, which is also what Dr. Donaldson talks about in his book, Strong Medicine. And clean carnivore, to me, would be essentially fatty meats and water. All right, that's what I want to, oh, wait a minute though. I did want to share a little bit more about AGE's, advanced glycation end products, understanding the science of why sugar ages us. And so AGEs are non-enzymatic modifications of proteins or lipids after exposure to sugars. So what happens is that this combination of sugars and proteins in the body, in the bloodstream, it causes cross-linking. All right, I don't want to get too technical, but what happens is we talk about a loss of elasticity. If we look at the difference between young skin and aging skin, it's not elastic, it gets brittle, it gets stiff. One of the best explanations I've ever had of it is if you think of glycation in cooking, think of the top of a creme brulee. So you have this very, soft custardy dessert, but on top you have this brown, crunchy topping, which is really exciting to the taste buds, but this is what's happening to the skin as well. So one of the reasons we're taking out the sugars, and not just, the white stuff that you put on top of your food or mix into your food, but also thank you. Thanks for the compliment. I am trying hard and trying to get better. It's good. At any rate, so if we understand some of the science of glycation, we understand the why behind why we're not just taking out the sugars, but also the other foods that turn into sugar. That's my cue. When the Australian Shepherds start barking, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'm going to go back and do a good copy with cuts and edits and good lighting, fingers crossed, and I should have that up by Monday. Take care everybody, and keep calm and no sugar. Okay.